Welcome to Stage Dive, a podcast where we go deep on the art of live performance to help artists perform better on stage. I am your host, Jack Dawkins. I am a rapper, poet, and storyteller out of Boulder, Colorado. My guest for today is Whitney Chanel, a storytelling comedian coming from New York City. We had a really beautiful, open, heartfelt conversation, particularly around how much of emotion and your own experience inevitably makes its way into your art. And even if we don't fully understand why things happen in our life, that doesn't mean they weren't meant to happen and that we can't take great strength from things, even if they are very, very challenging. I so love her perspective on so many things, and the fact that she is courageous enough to perform her comedy naked, which is something she's experimenting with recently. Please enjoy my conversation because I know I loved it. I know you will too.
All right, Jack. How are you? How you doing? Can you tell me about yourself?
Yeah. I would love to. Like, do you want how much life story do you want? You can't see how wide my arms are, but do you want like the whole thing, or like just like how I got to this podcast?
Yeah,
I
want to know what led you here and why is it that you do this podcast?
Sure, that's a great question. So, the best way to probably frame it is that before the pandemic, I was doing storytelling. So basically a much less funny version of what you do. Okay. But it was just me with a microphone on stage for 45 minutes to an hour, and I was doing a show that I had written and produced.
What's the name of the show?
It was in Chicago. It doesn't exist anymore because it was just me, but it was called Feeling This at the time. And one of the things I learned from doing the show is that the reason storytelling is so powerful is not because we've had the same experience, but it's because you can connect to an emotion that I had in a moment in my life, and that makes us feel closer as human beings.
Right.
So maybe the thing that scared me isn't what scared you, but you can connect to the feeling of being scared, and I think it just brings people closer together.
I'm a storytelling comedian, so I definitely get what you're saying there. And a part of comedy is to it's not really so much about the jokes that sells the joke, it's the emotion that sells the joke. And laughter is involuntary, so people actually are laughing because they're in shock to know that someone else has the same sentiments as them. So yes. I see the similarities there.
It's so true. And so pandemic comes, stages go away. Like, I'm sure you had a version of this where it's like, okay, well, now what the fuck do I do? And I tried doing stuff online, and like, painful, so painful.
Yeah.
Like, no eye contact. You can't read the energy of a room. Like, all the laughs have like a quarter-second delay. So you're like, did they get it? Did they not get it? Like, I tried it. I didn't love it. So it's like, well, what can I do? And so, like, music has been a form of storytelling forever. And we're so used to consuming stories digitally.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, well, cool. So like, if I can figure out how to do storytelling over a beat, like, now I'm back in business and I can keep making art.
I like that idea a lot. That sounds a lot better than poetry. I mean, I do, like, not to disrespect any poets, but like poetry just, I think some poets need a beat and it need to be upbeat because everything just seems so sad as a poet.
So. It can be really morose, particularly like at a whole show, because now it's like you get 8 different versions of really sad things that happen.
Yeah, I had a comedy show after a poetry slam, so I got to the event early, and like as soon as I walk in, the lady was like, "If you want to die today," and I'm just like, I'll be back.
That's like, let me walk around the block. Yeah, I don't need this right now.
Oh my God. And I had to make the same audience laugh, so I didn't want to stick around and let them get in my head. Also, like, to know how sad the audience is and knowing that I'm like pulling them out of a hole. Sometimes it's good to go into a situation blind and just bring people into your own energy versus meeting them where they're at.
I think knowing the difference of when to do one versus the other is like such a beautiful skill, and just sort of being able to read the room and to understand what they need. Right. Which sometimes they don't even know what they need. They might have a sense of what they want or need, but they don't always know.
Yeah, very true. And when you had mentioned COVID, during COVID, it was pretty difficult for me. Because like what got me into stand up to begin with was the death of my mom. So when my mom had passed away, I started just like distracting myself with always being on stages. Like I was doing like 10 mics a week to 10 shows a week to I started touring, doing 41 cities every quarter, and I was just busy, you know. And then when COVID happened, I had to like just sit around for the first time in like 3 years since my mom had passed, and like just sit with grief and not be able to run from it. So not having a stage really like I realized how much comedy was a crutch for me, how much comedy was a healing process, or it stunted my healing because it just kept me in the same place. Because when I'm on stage, it's every time it's different, but it seems like you're just stuck in time. So when I had to step away from the stage, it changed my material because I changed as a person. But to cope with comedy, cope without being with stages or trying to figure out what to do with my art. Like how do I give this release of like creativity? I did not like going online to Skype, and people putting LOL or pause or like or unlaugh. Like you gotta unmute to laugh. You know what I'm saying? Like literally we're doing shows that says unmute to laugh. And I didn't like that. But what I did do, I started streaming. And streaming was nice. I started streaming on a platform called Plenty of Fish, which is a dating platform. Now initially I went there to be a hoe, but then I've discovered that you can stream. So I'm like, you can see these hoes in person, and and then that's what happened, where I was able to like connect with people face to face, and also have the commentary of LOL and all that stuff, because there'll be like 500 people in a room, but only a couple of people are allowed to speak to you at once in the streaming network. It's pretty interesting, but that kind of saved my life. Well, I think it did. It saved my life during COVID because I learned that I did not like myself very much during COVID. I was like, Jesus, I'm just stuck with me. Like no distraction.
Me, myself, and I for a long time.
Yeah, it was pretty tough. But all right, look at us connecting.
Right. I'm curious. So like, you don't have to dig into it if you don't want to, but what about your mother passing kind of spurred you into comedy? Or was it that you were already in comedy and that was just like, I don't want to think about anything. Let me go do this.
I wasn't even a fan of comedy, to be honest. I didn't grow up watching stand up. I didn't have my top favorite comedians. I did not care for. I like dramas. I don't even like rom coms. I always fancy interviews though. Like I would go to work and I would listen to interviews. And one day I was listening to an interview with Neil Brennan, and Neil Brennan was speaking on 3 mics, and I wanted to see it in person because he had 3 mics where it was one-liners, then it was stand-up comedy, then it was the emotional mic, and then what he did was he exposed me to different avenues of verbal expression, public speaking,
Yes.
and sometimes what people fail to realize with comedy isn't all about laughter. Sometimes it's about irony. It's but your job as a comic is to provoke thought, not necessarily make people laugh. And that comedy is tragedy plus time. So things may not be funny now, but they get funny eventually. But to be able to have that, to see him showcase that talent, I was like, oh, I could do this. But I needed to find a way to express myself because I was the youngest of 3 children. So when my mom passed, me being a baby, we were all coping differently. And at the same token, I was just in a breakup. So like my mom died, and then my girl left me because I was so damn sad. And then none of my siblings want to hear about this damn breakup because mommy just died, So somebody had to hear about it. So I was somebody's gonna hear about this, So comedy definitely gave me an avenue to express myself, and I was fearless. I didn't have stage fright because I had already lost someone that meant the world to me. So the opinions of others didn't matter much, So yeah,
super interesting.
Quite honestly, I feel like I wouldn't have found my gift had I not had that loss. So yeah, it's pretty dark. Some people ask like, Like, some people ask for the dead back, and as much as I love my mother, I'm like, I actually like comedy a lot, and you had your time. Oh,
You
God
lived a
forgive me.
good life.
That was deep. I don't know. Is anyone else watching? But yeah,
Not yet.
not
Probably
yet.
will be. No, I mean, there's plenty to unpack there, but I do.
Wait, wait,
Well, it's funny how the universe works, right? It's like because the way you describe it, like you were in need, right? And you were in need of something that maybe your mother or siblings would have previously provided, and you were presented with a situation where the way you would have coped with something wasn't available, and so
right.
you were forced to find something new. And so, like, I tread lightly. I don't want to say that like that's why she died or anything like that,
Hey,
but
listen,
it's
like I think I think that everything happens for a reason. I had a great relationship with
mm,
my mom, and like I think that it was like that gift was given to me.
mm,
The universe provided, like in whatever way it can. Because the thing is, like, um, not too many people are religious, but whatever you believe in, a lot of people ask for stuff, and you're not going to get what you're asking for if you're holding on to something. So you need to be able to release something to have open hands to receive. And sometimes
mm.
what you're being forced to giving up. Sometimes God will force your hand.
Yep,
Yeah.
sure will, sure will.
Oh, look at
Um,
that. This is nice. That felt good. I feel like I'm in therapy a little bit, but
I guess you. I can hold space. It's no problem.
yeah.
Um, I'm curious. Like, so at first you were getting on stage because someone needed to hear about it. You needed a way to sort of talk through and process what you're going through and share it in a way that felt connective and compelling. When slash if did it start to shift to like a craft you really wanted to hone?
Um, I think that comedy always was a craft when I went into it because, like,
Mm,
you have to first and foremost when you go on stage, you have to get to 5 minutes. So you have to figure out what is it that you're talking about 5 minutes. Then you gotta.
right.
I don't even remember what you want to talk about for 5 minutes. Then you gotta punch it up and make sure it's funny. So then you gotta time every joke. So comedy is a place where you either got it or you don't. So if you keep getting on stage, naturally you're gonna have to get crafty with it because you have to time yourself, and ideally you have to be funny because if you have to earn the right to be unfunny. Like it's stand up comedy. So
Interesting.
comedians shouldn't be sitting down on stage unless they're hilarious. Dave Chappelle is at this GOAT status right now. And in my opinion, he's not funny right now. He's not funny. He's literally just provoking thought. All throughout, like just planting seeds and watering them. You watching this man have a conscious train of thought. But he earned that because he had to put the medicine in the candy many years ago, or the candy in the medicine. He had to mask his genius with
Mm.
just bullshit. Because, okay, can I curse on here?
Yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, because like the lowest, like low hanging fruit, like sex, race, relationships. That's easy in comedy. They're called hacks. But
Mm.
when you start getting on like social issues and taking a stand and literally sticking to that stand, that's when that you have to earn that.
Yeah, it's complicated, right?
It is
It's
complicated.
like
It's a double edged sword.
very much so, and I mean, I think there's a lot of places in art right now where everyone is being confronted with like how much does the character of the person and what they did factor into how we look at them and what they created.
And it's I'm so happy you kind of mentioned that because it leads to like these Louis C.K.'s,
Mm.
Harvey Weinstein's, R. Kelly's. It's just crazy to me because I'm like, damn, I really just hope that I go to church. I hope that I don't get crucified one day. I hope that
Right.
people
Yeah.
remember me just being funny. Yeah.
Well, like if you're willing, I'd love to hear like how do you think about that? Like someone like Louis C.K.
Mm, I separate the art from the person. I still listen to R. Kelly,
Okay.
so I think Louis C.K. is hilarious. I fancy that he relishes in using the N word every set, because he is hilarious. He's funny, and
Mm.
I think that comedy is meant for you to be your truest self and to be out the box.
Mm.
And the way you are amongst your friends, see, there's stage funny and there's living room funny. You follow me? So like, people be living room funny, but people are funny in the living room because the context of the conversation. Everybody kind of familiar with you, and everybody knows how you think, and also everyone mirrors each other. So there's no consequences to your opinions or whatnot, you know.
Right.
But to dare to take that and bring it on stage and put it in a way that's digestible to people, that's an art, and I'm
Mm.
not gonna take that away from him because people give words power. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And you need to do the
Mm.
work if you are easily turned off by particular phrases. You know?
Bars. I mean, I think it's interesting. Comedians probably more than they might want to are sort of on the forefront of this conversation, right? Because I think it's like I think of Ricky Gervais, I think about Jon Stewart, I think about a lot of people who have tried to articulate like, yes, we have to be thoughtful about what we say, but there is nuance to what we say, and there's a reason that we say it, and it's within a context that we learn to create this art, which obviously has this massive audience for a reason. And
Right.
like comedy more than ever right now, because we need a place for honesty, feels like such a necessary thing that we need, because otherwise you can see how quickly doors are closing
Very
on
true.
just normal conversation. It's kind of unnerving. Like what's happening in Tennessee right now is like, oh God.
Yes. Yes. Like, this world is, I don't know, I feel like we need to do more to protect the artists. But the thing is, these artists are damaged beings. So,
Mm.
but the thing is, I feel like people that are damaged, they find a way to escape through art. And for those that don't have a way to escape, that haven't found their niche yet, they just want to cancel people. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
I can't do what you do, so I'm mad. Yeah. Oh, you're triggering me. I just went through that, but you're not on my side, so I'm upset. I was just telling my partner the other day, I'm like, if I was to become my first passion was film, like I wanted to be a film editor, and if
Mm.
I ever get back into making movies or whatnot, I want to make movies that doesn't have a happy ending. You know, I'm so sick of the happy endings. Sometimes they just break up, and it's okay.
And that's the end. Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, like, everyone has this thing where, oh, if you do wrong with this person or whatever, they're gonna get karma. Sometimes people just don't get karma. Sometimes the asshole wins, and it is okay. Because the thing is, what people fail to realize is that, like, you could be having a bad life just because your parents just was shitty people, and it have nothing to do with you. You're getting their karma. Some people are assholes, but their parents prayed and fucking spent so much money on their education and all this other stuff that they just walking through life and ruining everybody else's.
Mm.
And you want to waste your time thinking that this person going to get, oh, they're gonna get it. No, they're not. And I want movies to reflect that. Some people
Mm.
just, it's okay to be an asshole in doses, or just accept people for who they are. I don't know. I think I'm weird.
Well, I like we're all weird. So like it's an
I'm
interesting
weird.
like everyone's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wish more people were weird, because I think what we perceive as normal or a lack of weird means like a highly cultivated and cultured sense of like I am supposed to behave this way, so I
Mm.
fit into this mold, so I can function in this way. And we're actually like killing off so much creativity and individualism that would serve us, because there would be more diversity of perspective and art and creativity, and the world would be more beautiful. But I understand why there's a lot of nuance to that argument.
Yes.
But the well, there's two things. One, I think the idea of art reflecting life more honestly, it like yes, capital Y all the time, yes, please. Like I
What,
think we need
man?
so much more of it.
I just sat through this movie where this woman like hated this man and wanted to get away from him, and he was beating on her, and he wanted to get her pregnant because he wanted a son. And at the end of the movie, she gets away from him, but she's pregnant. She keeps the baby. With all this abortion shit going on, why this movie she didn't just get the abortion? Why do she have a souvenir from a terrible relationship? I'm like, and the thing is, this movie, the release is 2023. In 2023, women are getting abortions. There's no way a woman's going to stick around with this. Can we tell this story? You know? Okay.
No, I'm with you. The other piece I have curiosity around is like, it sounds, you've used the word that I also use a lot, which is the work. Which, like, I don't know if I could give you a dictionary definition, but I know exactly what you're talking about when you say it. Yes. And like, I think the work is what allows you to say, like, there is beauty in grief. Mm. Like there is life to be celebrated, even in the things that are ugly. Yes. Like, you know, this is a weird corollary, but I'm
following.
There's a book called Principles by a guy named Roy Dalio.
Let's call him Royce.
But like, yeah, there we go, Royce. I like that. But what he was talking about is like how for a lot of his life he would just look to nature, and like nature can be overwhelmingly beautiful and gentle and incredible. Nature can also be really violent and sad. Like, how do you think a fucking gazelle feels when a lion is like ripping it wide open to feed its kids, right? Like, I don't think the gazelle is super happy about it, right? Or they're going to be like, oh, good one, lion. Like, I'll see you tomorrow. Right. Like, no, that motherfucker's dead.
Right.
And like, it's horrifying to watch, but you understand it is part of this life, this living that we are in.
I like that. I like that there. Initially, when you started talking about it, I'm thinking, you know, when you say, you know, nature can be beautiful and it can be scary, I'm like, which drug is he on? You know, like, what is it? So that's it.
Valid question. Super like, valid question. What are we doing? Yeah. But I think in life, like, well, it's two things. All emotions can be beautiful, but there's also like the sneaky truth that like the way you move through an emotion is to actually feel it.
Yeah.
There's you don't get to just put it down and never look at it again. It's still there.
So doing the work is like for me, it's like taking accountability, you know, like, yeah, to feel it, to acknowledge it, you know, and that's the thing that people are missing. They want to project.
Yes.
Instead of taking ownership.
Well, I don't know if they want to. That's what they end up doing.
Yeah, that's what they end up doing. I don't think they're smart enough to actually want to do that. I think that, well, let me not call people stupid, but yeah. Huh. You're insightful.
I've spent a lot of time in the work.
Yeah.
And it's because like I would still describe myself as a sensitive person, but I used to get my feelings hurt all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you want to know a terrible way to go through life is having your feelings hurt all the time.
I'm super sensitive.
And well, you're in New York, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So like in New York, you can put up like the hard shell for a while, but at some point, like your humanity is like, we're dying over here. Like we need to feel, we need to cry, we need to be emotional, like we need to be human, like we need to move this shit.
Yeah.
So at some point you realize like
New York is infamous for just seeing someone cry on the subway and everyone's just going about their day. Yeah, I can identify as a very emotional, sensitive person, but I just find a way to channel it. Yeah. And sometimes I could be too transparent, but I don't know. I think there's strength and vulnerability. Mm-hmm. But with my comedy, what I love about it is that it's the fleeting intimacy that keeps me coming back. Because I could be transparent in this room full of strangers, make their day, make them laugh, make them think. And also I could get my cup filled while pouring out. And I get to do it over and over again with a different crowd. And even though if I'm doing the same material, it's the beats may be the same, but the laughter is all different. Mm-hmm. So fleeting transparency, fleeting intimacy, and for me being transparent, it strengthens one another. Yeah.
It like when I hear you describe that, to me, like that sounds like love.
Yes, and yeah, I love comedy. When going back to when I lost my mom, when I was grieving, still grieving, you'd never get over that. I've read this meme, you know, everyone's on Instagram. I read this meme. It says, grief is love with nowhere to go. And comedy gave me a place to put that love. But now I'm into comedy, and it's great, and I'm a professional. The gays hate me, and I'm gay, and this is killing me. You know, I'm this is because I'm like, I'm one of you guys. I find that my audience is like straight people, and I feel like a traitor. My titties be bigger than hers. It's the shit that pisses me off. Like, you can pay for something, bitch. Yeah, I hate it. I'm not one of the happy gays, I'll tell you that. I hate it here. It's expensive. And it's been expensive when I cheat. Oh, okay. All right. So I'm the only cheater. Got it. All right, we cool. Look. Yeah, but what am I to do?
Why do you think that is?
Well, okay, I kind of sabotage myself because like a part of my material.
Okay.
A part of my material is like, okay, I've been working on this hour special called "I'm Not That Gay," and the reason why I'm saying that is because nowadays everything's just gay. It's just too gay. Like it's like now it's like I'm being in the closet now. Everybody's just out the closet. People in the hallway. People on the stairs. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like everybody's so gay now. I'm sucking dick to stand out. And when I say that, people look at me like, oh my God. Because, you know, being gay is like either you L, G, B, and then they put all these extra letters, and I can't keep up. And I'm talking about this on stage, and some of the people that are part of the community is like this. Because gay people are so sensitive now. Like the LGBs, the regular gays, God, forgive me, this sounds so crazy. The regular gays been gay for a long time. They don't need accolades and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? They just wanted to marry their partner so that they could get some benefits of. We don't get into that. But these extra letters, y'all just got here, and y'all over here sitting like this. You know, I find that gay people are so gay to Republican, and then that right there is a whole nother argument. Now they mad at me calling them Republican. I just can't win. So, but when I tell this, when I express this emotion in front of a straight crowd, they're like, "Yeah, I'm confused too." So yeah, I need to figure out. Like as much as I love comedy, I need to figure out who I'm fighting for because I find that I'm being selfish. But comedy is about me. You know, it's about me. But life is bigger than yourself. You know, when you have the power to be an influence to people, you need to be mindful of what is it that's coming out your mouth. And yeah, I don't know how we got there, but just figure that shit.
Right. What about it feels selfish?
Okay. So so when I talk about the trans community, right? And in my material, I say tranny. They don't like that because it's derogatory. But in my defense, I say nigga. I could say tranny, right? And then they like no. But this is that's a joke. But I guess it's too much to unpack at that moment. But my thing is, tranny is just easy on the mouth because transsexual, that's just too many syllables. But then they don't get that either, you know. So, but anyway, what I'm doing is when I'm saying this, I am doing a disservice to their community because I'm making it okay to say it because that's all they hear is that I'm making it okay to say it. They're not hearing the joke. So then I am driving the phobia, whatever the hell hatred that people have. But that's not me. That's not how I feel. But that's what I'm saying. I'm only responsible for what I say, but I can't interpret how people interpret things. But I'm trying to accept accountability for my role in this situation. You know?
Yeah.
It sucks. I'm fine. I'm gonna be one of them celebrities that be apologizing for shit they're not sorry for.
Yeah. Must be nice. Yeah. No, I mean, I think, yeah, that's.
It's a lot to unpack, right?
It's a ton, and there's not a right or wrong answer, right? So at the end of the day, like we talked about this just a tiny bit before we jumped on, but it's like, you know, at some point, like you as an artist, you need to have a perspective or it's not funny. Like if you're just saying things that are universally true and accepted by everyone everywhere, and there's no frame of reference for your individual experience or the way you observe things, then what is it? Like how, like, could you go to a restaurant where they just make food? Like you could. I bet it would be terrible. Like, I
Right.
probably wouldn't want to eat there.
I like that
Like,
analogy a lot. That is really good. Thank you for that. I'm gonna have to take that.
you're welcome. And I again, it's like a moment of self-awareness. Like as a white man, like they're extra sensitive because like I haven't lived the experience of so many people. But what I can't abandon is that I do have an individual experience, and that's still mine. And
Yes.
so like I think the balance, that accountability you talk about, is like it's not okay for me to co-opt someone else's experience, even if they look like me, to say like, yeah, like this is my lived whatever, and this is what I think. But if what I feel is real and that's actually how I lived it, whether it be confusion or anger or frustration or whatever,
Right.
like I can own that. And it's an interesting dance. Like this is going to be
Yes.
another strange connection for you, but like, so coming out of the pandemic, I went through a divorce, and like it's actually turned out to be really beautiful.
I
And like
wanted to
that
say
is a story that like
congratulations, but I want to let you
you
finish.
can, no, like it's all worked out
Right.
beautifully. I'm super grateful for it. And like as part of the process, inevitably we had to meet with lawyers to make sure, because we have a daughter, and so like we
Right.
went through this process called collaboration to make sure everything was okay. And like it was, the only place that we ended up having any disagreement was that I tell stories on stage, and so I talk about my daughter, and my former partner Amelia was like, you know, that makes me uncomfortable because I don't want you to talk about her in a way that she is gonna regret or have, you know, feel bad about in the future. And I said, I completely understand that, but I can't change the fact that being her father is part of my experience. The way
Right.
I interacted with her, good, bad, or otherwise, like that's part of me learning. And that's, I think, part of my experience that I need to share, because I think we are really fucking dishonest about what it is to be a parent in this country. Whole other diatribe we can skip for right now.
Hey,
But
yes.
like, and like it was again, it was super amicable, but it was interesting because I so understand her point. Like
Right.
we don't ever post any pictures of her on social media because it's like I don't know if she wants to be online.
Got
She's
it.
not old enough to make that choice. But that doesn't change the fact that my experience as her father is still mine, and I still feel compelled to share that. And so
Well,
I was protective of
I'm
that.
rooting for you. I think that you should. I'm biased because as a as a comedian, my ex partners or what, they didn't want me to talk about them. But what I'm supposed to do? If I'm spending all this time with you, what am I supposed to be talking about when I'm on stage? Get like rush hour, you know,
Right.
like, oh my god. So yeah, I pissed a lot of exes off, you know, talking
Yeah.
about them. But I will say this: I was in a situation where I dated a comedian, and she began to talk about me on stage, and I never had that experience. So for the first time, I'm feeling like all these exes, and I'm like, oh,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
okay,
I kind of get it. Yeah. I
I
kind of
get
get
it.
why they didn't like it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
did not like it. I didn't like it. She was like, she has stole my dicks, right? Like I had a bag of dicks, she stole them. And like she's on stage talking about how, yeah, I'm not fucking her, but I'm still fucking her. And I'm just like, everybody's laughing. I'm like, wait, no, that was traumatic for me. I called the cops to get my dicks back. And they asked me, they're like, hey, why did you call the cops? And I'm like, oh, she has my persons. And it turned out to be dicks. Whatever. Fuck her.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
but she still talks about this to this day. That was trauma. I had a relationship with my. I wish I was joking, but whatever. Next topic.
Moving on. Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Um, you mentioned earlier that like you're a storyteller in your comedy. Like, how did that style? Was that from the jump, or is that something you sort of grew into as you went?
Um, I kind of, I've always been that way. Like, I don't know. Like, I just keep going, and then something happens. Like, I have trigger words. Like, I keep going, then I get that trigger word, and then it triggers me to another topic that's related to the last topic. But it's all like one story. And
Mm.
I may do something. if I want to get to a whole nother topic, I would do a joke that has nothing to do with anything to bring it to something that could completely go somewhere else. I love storytelling. I tell jokes on stage the same way I sit here and talk to you. Mm. You know, except it's a one-sided conversation, which I fancy. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you describe yourself more as an extrovert or an introvert?
Introvert. But people would think I'm extroverted. Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm in a house alone with 2 cats. And I love it. Yep. Yeah. But at the same token, I have a stripper pole right in front of me. So.
For when the occasion calls. You never know
right.
You're going to need one.
I do like to go out. You know, after comedy shows, I will hang out with comics. But the beauty of hanging out with comedians, you still feel alone. So you can still be introverted and still, you know, do the small talk. Except when you're amongst artists, you know how you're okay. You know, if you have a day job, they say, "Hey, how's the weather? How's the kids?" You know, and when you're among artists, they're like, "Hey, did you try to kill yourself this week?" You know, like our small talk is entirely different, you know. Yeah. But you still feel alone because everyone is just so depressed. We're just depressed in company. But yeah, I don't know how to really explain that kind of thought.
Would you describe yourself as depressed?
Yeah, functional.
Sure.
Yeah. So Jim Carrey has said something about depression is your body saying you don't want to be this character anymore. Something like that. Mm. And I find that when I'm trying to create a new pattern in my life, and when I revert back to the old pattern, and it doesn't work out the way I want to, then I get mad at myself because I knew I should have did it this way. So then that resorts to me not participating in anything. Mm. I don't know. Like sometimes I could be having a great day. Like I could be having a great day and think about suicide. You know, like I could be having a great month and still be like, hey, you know, I can end shit on a high note. You know, so it's like I don't know how to really like navigate this whole what's depression and what's not, because I think that happiness is not a destination. I think it's fleeting. You know. Yeah.
I completely agree with that. I mean, I think like, well, now that I think about it, yeah, like I guess you can be happy over time, but in some ways I do think about happiness as a moment. Like I think gratitude is the one that's more expansive that you can feel throughout your life. Like happiness or joy is more of like that show and great. This meal is awesome.
Yes,
I love this person.
That's
right?
how I feel.
Those little
feel
bubbles.
I feel like happiness is like it's just like the fleeting intimacy thing. But you know, I think that my default emotion is just blah. You know.
So interesting. So I don't get that impression from you, and like that doesn't make it right or wrong.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think what I
tell me the lie.
Well, what I get curious about is like, and I've heard this sort of phrase in different ways, like your job as a comedian is to be observant, which means that when you have thoughts, you pay more attention to them than other people might. And so like, I'm not in your head, but when you say, even in a good month, you could think about suicide, that's like, think about and consider are very different.
Oh, no.
Like being curious about like, if I killed myself now, it'd be kind of a great time because I'd feel great about everything. And then it would just be curtains. Like there's that like academic thought. And then there's like, really considering whether or not you should kill yourself, which I don't think is what you're saying, right?
I like that you put it that way. No, it's definitely more academic. Like for me, like I find that I personally couldn't do that only because the thought of my siblings hearing about me not being here anymore keeps me here, you know, or my fans. Oh, and I got a good job. Like I live alone. I got a good job. I got insurance. Like it could be worse.
It could be way worse.
You know, I'm much more prone to commit a murder than I am to kill myself. I'm sorry. Cut.
Stricken from the record, please.
Yeah.
No, I think
But
that's
that
so
is a thought that I
interesting.
would have on stage. That's the thought that I would literally work on stage and say just like that. Like, I'm more prone to do that. Yeah. Like, I'll kill
But
you. I
that's
don't know about me.
right.
Number three, I fucking love words. And I'm grateful for them, and I'm grateful for the way that they connect us. And the last one, yes, I do think I have a purpose. And it's so that every single person in this room knows that right now, in this moment, you are lovable, you are enough, and everything you are doing is exactly what you need to be doing. You are where you fucking need to be. Make some fucking noise for yourself. Murdered it. Murder.
I'm in my grave, vibing out like this crazy fucking 808. Thirst quencher, cause I spit, not drink that Gatorade. I'ma pluck this tension and craft a melody. Find victory in my vocab, rap a spelling bee. I used to live this earth walk full of jealousy, but I learned that life will go on if I just let it be.
I guess the curiosity that I have, and like this is not my place to have the curiosity, like because so like I'm originally from New York. I go back a couple times a year. I always try to go see comedy shows, and there's no question that like the narrative of the depressed comedian is like it's fucking everywhere. It comes up in every show I've ever seen forever, and like
Yeah.
just to be clear, I believe that depression is real. And I mean that both from like the chemical, like by the book medical sense, and that there is a sensation or an experience of depression that is equally real, regardless of whether or not it's fucking diagnosed. Like, I think
Right.
depression is very real. But what I get curious about is like, do comedians tend toward that identity because they just are in consideration of their thoughts more than most people? Like,
I believe, I don't know, do comedians consider that their identity because they are more thoughts than most people? No. There's some comedians that think they're not depressed. They think they're just smarter than everyone else. Then that turns into like narcissism. You know, you have sociopaths.
sure.
There's a
It's a
rainbow.
whole grab bag.
There's a rainbow. There's a rainbow of mental illness running through comedy. But yeah, I don't think that's a default identity for comics. Yeah, but what bothers me about the comedy and depression, like some comics, like when I go on stage and I'm doing my thing, I'm not feeding them depressed material. You know, like quite honestly, people don't even have these kind of conversations with me to even fancy the idea of me being depressed. I don't like when comics go on stage and they create this prison of depressed ass comedy where you just want sympathy laughs. You know, one of the things you never want to hear as a comic on stage is, "Aw." You don't ever want to hear that. That's terrible. Just boo me, okay? Just fucking boo me.
Oh wait, actually, I remember getting to have this conversation with someone, and I want to hear your thoughts. Would
Yes.
you rather hear boos or silence?
Silence. Silence is a compliment. Boos is an insult. A boo is, I heard your thought, it wasn't funny, and I'm gonna boo your ass. Silence is they could still be thinking. They could. There's a possibility they just don't understand you. You know,
Yes.
it's like whatever that science thing of light and sound, how it travels. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's that. I love silence. I prefer silence actually, because most of the time I'm hungover when I'm performing anyway. So, please.
I have a headache. Keep it down.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm so funny for that. No, because when I'm on stage and those lights are so bright, it gives me a fucking headache. And then you add laughter on top of it. Comedians, artists, people, whatever, like we love what we do, but they always say do what you love, so it'll never feel like a job. No, it's going to be a job. Like eventually, it's going to be a fucking job. And some days you want to call out, So when you're on stage, sometimes you want silence. So I welcome silence. Just don't boo me. I've gotten booed before, and that shit was traumatic. That was so sad. Yeah. I had to call a comic. I got booed. I was like I was the host. I was the host of the show, They waited till the end of the show to boo me. Do you know how hard of a show that is? And it was at Stonewall, which is like the gay capital on West 4th. And and I'm a part of the community. I got booed by my own people. As the host, I had to call a comic and say, "Hey, please tell me I'm funny. Say you love me." It was pretty bad. And my girlfriend was in the audience at the time. To get booed in front of your partner. So yeah, I'm sorry. I'm really mulling over this silence thing. Please be quiet.
No, I think it's funny. I think the first comic I spoke to said she would prefer booze because she wanted to just know. It's like, okay, you didn't like it. I got it. For her, the ambiguity of silence was much more uncomfortable. So it's interesting that you have this flip perspective.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I'm on team silence, and I actually like. This is a strange comparison, but like, so when I perform on stage as a rapper, it's fascinating to see what people do with the energy in the space. Because a lot of people just try to go to 11 and then just stay at 11.
Yeah.
And after 4 minutes, the whole crowd is like, can we have a break? Or like, can we like rest? Like there's no movement. And I think that's what makes performance great is that you take people somewhere that you can go high and then you bring them back down and then you take them back up. And like, I think you need to be able to move energy that way.
The beauty of silence though is like, why? Okay, as a question any performer, like why would prefer booze over silence? Like why can't you navigate silence? What is it in your spirit that's rattled by silence? Yeah. Yeah. Why do you care so much about what other people think? Like if someone boos you, yeah, you clearly know that they don't like it. But why is that confirmation important? Yeah. I wish I cared more about what people think. But I think that what strengthens me on stage. Huh?
Why?
Because if I care more about what people think, I'll be able to do the small talk at work. But I don't care about their weekend, so I don't ask them. And that gets in the way of promotion. Yeah. So you got to do the dance. You don't have to, but it's promoted. I wish I cared more about what people think. Honestly, I wish people care more about what I think. But they do when I'm on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there something about you or your comedy that you wish you got more credit for?
My intelligence. Yeah. I wish people would dig. Instead of just taking things as a grain, like, dig, Like, what do you mean when you say that? I wish everything was like an interview, like a podcast. I wish I could explain a joke. But then it wouldn't be funny. But then that's the great part about it. It's not meant to be funny. Sarah Silverman is one of my favorite comedians because she talks down to her audience. And I love it. I love it. She'll tell a joke and she'll explain the joke and she'll be like, never mind. And just keep going. And then people are laughing at their own stupidity. Like, that is brilliant. I like her a lot. Yeah. And she manages to do, there's topics that you stay away from during comedy. The N-word, the R-word. So Louis C.K. does the N-word. She does the R-word. And I love it. Yes. I need to find me a stickler. I need to find me something that I want to talk about. Maybe it's the T-word. But, it's a little too hot right now. So
it's this hot button if you want to go there.
I'm going to leave it alone. I like how you followed me with that. Thanks.
I got you.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? That could be a whole podcast or new format unto itself, right? Like, I think that's what's fun. Like now, there's clearly like the most commonly used paths to do something, but I think you can find an audience for almost anything. Yeah. Almost anything. And so, like, I think it may not be everybody. Like, it may not be a traditional comedy show audience, but I think there's absolutely an audience for people that want to like understand the mechanics of the joke and go into the intelligence of it. It's like, it's the same with rap, right? Like, there are some people who want to read every word of every bar and unpack the double entendres and go back to the family history and, oh, he said this 2 albums ago and he's fucking setting up this punchline. And like, some people love that shit, right? And a lot of people don't. A lot of people want a loud 808 and a club, and that's it. And both are completely valid.
Yeah, I mean, we need the people that don't, because they're cattle, and they're the reason why things sell. So, oh wait, I'm sorry. Am I speaking with a third eye? But, yeah, I think everyone is important. Your vote matters. I would like, okay, so like earlier you have kind of mentioned like doing this show and, you know, talking to people that just started comedy. And if I could give anyone advice that just started comedy, I would say stop lying. You know, like this, like if you're going to be an artist, no one's asking you to get on stage. So be true to yourself and be naked. Depending on that, I have a show this Friday and Saturday, where I gotta be naked on stage. Literally naked, like with socks. I'm kind of excited, because I always talk about transparency. Let's see just how transparent I am. But going back to tell these comedians, it's like, you know, be yourself and just remember that comedy is an emotion. And it's all about you. And push the art. Don't play it safe. It fucking sucks. Ugh. So tired of these jokes that are, they're just not going to last. You know, be timeless. Ugh. Man, in fact, these freaking newspaper comics piss me off. Hey, did you see the news today? Like, you know, be universal. Yeah. If you live in New York, don't just talk about the fucking trains all day. Because when you go to Kentucky, you're not gonna be funny. All right. If you're in Atlanta, you talking about gas stations all day. Do not come to New York talking about no damn gas station. We get gas and we leave. We do not hang out and party at the gas stations over here. Yeah, be universal. So
yes.
Yeah.
How much do you think about something being timeless while you're writing it?
Everything I do is pretty timeless, because as my experiences, I'm not tying it to anyone else. I mean, I have the ability to tie a joke into something that's present, but that joke that I'm doing is a part of my set permanently. It just changes because it's more fitting. I have to punch it up. You know, for example, like I have this joke where I'm saying I hate being on transportation on a train and then the lesbian come on a train. You know, that pisses me off. Like, I want to be the only one. You ever seen the movie Ghost? Like, get off my train. But how many people seen the movie Ghost? Ghost is a classic. You know, nobody's going to remember the dead ghost that was beating his ass trying to get off my train and trying to teach him how to kick stuff and stuff like that, you know? So then, you know, I have to beat it up to something else. Like, but I don't really do that joke too often nowadays. But the whole idea is that's me just not liking being in the room with other lesbians. I feel like straight people are comparing us. You know? And that's, I just stick to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really like tying. I don't really like paying attention to too much of what's going on. Everybody, when Trump was voted in, everybody had a Trump joke. I guess he's timeless now because he's getting arrested. But you know, but shit, he became president. Then he wasn't president. Now they bringing that old material back because he's going to jail. You wasted all this time talking about this guy. Who am I talking to? Like, who are you? Where do you go to school? What do you hate? What do you love? You know, I hate when I'm watching a comic and I just don't know nothing about them. Yeah, I'm just chatting.
No, I think within chatting is like where you get the interesting insights. And I think that's such great advice. Like, I think you could say that to a lot of rappers.
Yeah.
Like, it's right. And it's like, it's not, again, there's no such thing as the wrong kind of music to make. There's no such thing as the wrong kind of way to listen to music. They all exist for a reason.
Right.
I just would love to see more people share their story.
Yeah, like, I would like to see more people be authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in comedy, there's space for everybody. They say it's one of the hardest art forms, and we're the driving force in entertainment. So I think that people should take more integrity, have more integrity.
I think that's true.
But yeah. Huh. This feels like therapy. I think I need to meet with you every week.
Yeah. We can do this again. We can run it back. Yeah. Or I can call you up when we're in New York. Come to one of your shows and chop it up. We'll try to make the post-show table less depressing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll try. I'll probably fail, but I'll try.
That's funny because usually I don't get like this and like I don't know. I feel like I'm just chatting and like I feel like you're visiting my mind right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't really get to I don't really get to meet podcasts that's like, oh, let's walk around this amusement park of Whitney Chanel. Yeah. On this roller coaster, it's like, you know.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Anything else you like to pick my brain about?
Oh, we could be here for hours.
I definitely had a good time speaking with you. I feel like there's going to be some souvenirs that I take with me after this conversation. I'm going to go smoke a cigarette and think like, damn, that Jack Dawkins was smart.
You're super kind. Yeah. Where can people find you? Where can they find out where you're doing shows or what's going on?
Well, my name is Whitney Chanel, and you can Google me. Yes, Whitney like Whitney Houston, Chanel like the bag. I do have Facebook, but I spend most of my time on Instagram. My Instagram is Whitney Chanel Comedy. Come follow me, DM me, check me out. It's a good time. Do not be alarmed. There's titties out on my Instagram, but I do tell jokes. So come for the jokes. Yeah, double tap the breast. Thank you, Jack Dawkins, for having me. You're amazing, and I do love your nails. I tried to go the whole time without saying anything about it, but I had to. Yeah.
You're very sweet. Thank you, Whitney. I really enjoyed this.
Well, till next time.
Till next time. That's right.
Thank you so much for listening to Stage Dive. I'm having so much fun having all these conversations and meeting these wonderful, wonderful people. But I appreciate that this is also going out to you, the person who is listening. So my request, my ask, my desire, if you have any curiosities, questions, guest recommendations, suggestions for the podcast, please send us an email at stagedivepodcast@gmail.com. We read every single email that comes through. We will get back to you. And we really do want to hear what you love about the podcast, things that you think could improve, and how we can make this a better show for you. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much.